Speaking about the society,
Yes.
you are a gay couple.
Yes. At least
Do
I
you
think
s-
we are.
What?
At least I think we are. Yeah, I'm pretty
And
sure.
how am I supposed to comment that?
Oh, wow. Hey.
Hi, Michael. Thank you
Hello.
so much for having us.
Absolutely.
You did an
We're
amazing.
thrilled to have you here.
You did an amazing job
Thank
here.
you.
It looks
Thank you.
beautiful, and
Thank you.
the light brings it all up. So
Thank
I
you.
love
Yes.
it. I love it. I love
We're
it.
very happy.
Today, I would like to talk to you a little bit about your experience of
Sure.
moving to Paris, and in general, how do you
Yes.
like it so far?
Yes.
I have my first question is like, what even made you consider retiring abroad?
You know, great question. And I'll tell you, it happened. Well, first of all, as a little kid, I always wanted to live in Paris.
Okay.
So it started way back then. But when I was 5, 6 years ago, I lost my job. And I was thinking, well, what if I don't want to stay? What if I don't want to go back to work? I had a little money saved and all that. So, and I couldn't stay in New York because we're from Manhattan because it was just too expensive. So I started looking and I found this whole international community of people from the US who have moved to to Europe, Lisbon, Madrid, Paris, everywhere. And so Italy, so we started looking, and we first started with Italy, but we're gay, so they don't acknowledge gay marriage. So that was kind of out for us. And then we looked at Lisbon, and just we went over several times, and just it's a beautiful, beautiful area, but just really wasn't for us. And so Eric had never been to Paris, and I had one day I came out to him and said, how about France or Paris? He said, well, I've never been there. And I said, you'll love it. But how do I know I'll love it? So anyway, I turned 60. We made a trip to Paris. He fell in love with it. We, during that week there, I started Googling relocation experts, came across you, and the rest is history. We fell in love with Paris, and here we are.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was actually, it went pretty quickly.
Okay. And when you were doing your research,
Yes.
what resources did you consult or work with?
Oh, wow. I started with Facebook groups. There are an inordinate number of Facebook groups out there. I'm a member of over 200 different Facebook groups that talk about moving to Europe, the legalities of moving to Europe, how you get a visa if you want to work here, bringing your dogs, finding an apartment. So I spent a lot of time scouring the Facebook pages. Okay. And then, of course, when we made contact with your friend in Paris, that also became another resource for us to help us understand what it would actually take to rent an apartment, to open up a bank account, the carte vitale, the insurance, and probably most importantly, what the income tax impact would be for us.
Yes.
Because that's a big one. That's a big one.
Yes. Thank God for the treaty of no double taxation.
Yes. So and I didn't understand that. That was one of the reasons why we were looking at Portugal, is because I didn't understand that about the treaty until I started doing more research on France and found out that they had the treaty and the double taxation, especially and since our income is passive income,
Yes.
we don't get taxed double on it.
Yeah, that's really nice.
So it really opened up. France is where we wanted to be. It's just an incredibly beautiful country. The people have been fabulous. It's where we wanted to be.
Amazing. It looks like you did a lot of research, a lot of
Years.
that. So it looks like you had a very good idea of what you need to do to move
Yes.
to Paris, and
Yes.
which visa you need to take.
Yes.
So what made you decide to hire a relocation agency?
While I understood in theory
Yes.
what I needed, the practicality of being able to do it, to have someone who can say, okay, understanding it, knowing what kind of visa I need, but actually the mechanics of it very different. And there's a level of complexity there that was beyond anything that I understood. So that's where your friend in Paris, your organization, helped us, walking us through, making sure we had the dossier for opening up the bank account.
Yes.
What was that experience going to be like? Perfecting the dossier for our apartment, making sure we understood the insurance that we need to have, all of that. The carte vitale. We just got a letter that we have to translate my birth certificate into French. So there's like they say, the devil's in the details.
Yes.
Well, I knew at a macro level what we needed, but I needed somebody to help us with the details.
Okay. And before you moved to France,
Yes.
what was your biggest fear? That you were like, oh, I really am afraid.
The language.
Okay. And
The language.
So how did it turn out? How does it?
It's actually been great. Eric started Duolingo a year before we moved, so he's God bless him. We've had some issues with IKEA. We had some issues with the cable. We've had some issue with the electric. But through Duolingo, he's been able to communicate with those different organizations. We actually call them up and understand and be able to articulate what we need. I'm not there yet. I just started Duolingo a couple months ago, so I am nowhere near where Eric is. But because we settled in Saint-Germain-en-Laye, which has an international community, English is a bit more spoken. So for me, it's a nice transition because I do try to speak French when I'm out, but if I need to, I will. A lot of the shopkeepers will revert to English to help me. So language was the one that's most concerning, but we are definitely focused on taking classes and making sure we learn the language. That's key to being able to matriculate into the society, which is what we want.
That's amazing. And also,
Yes.
like, if your husband's French is 1 year of Duolingo,
Yes.
I am impressed. I thought he took French for
No.
years before.
No.
Like, I heard him speaking
Yes.
French. I was like, that's
Yes.
very good. And he writes in
Yes.
French and
Yes.
emails.
Yes. We go to places and he'll carry on a conversation with shopkeepers or the people in the restaurant, the manicurist. he can talk to everybody, and it's all been through Duolingo.
That's amazing.
Yes. Now we're going to take classes. We're going to take official class or formal classes, but the Duolingo has done a great job for us.
Now I would like to touch a little bit on budgeting.
Yes.
So before you moved, you probably
Yes.
had a number
Yes.
of how much you're going to spend per
Yes.
month.
Yes.
I don't need to know the number, but I want to know, like, how is it going? Like, are you going above the number?
No,
or
we're not going
below?
above it.
Okay.
We're not going above it. Because we didn't bring any furniture here.
Yes.
All we brought were some of the artwork, dishes, pots that we can't use, a lot of clothing, and I think what you see me wearing has been my uniform. I wear pretty much a black turtleneck or a gray turtleneck. But we brought lots
Very
of
French
clothes.
of you.
Yeah,
Very French.
Yes, I want to look very Parisian. But we brought clothing, we brought shoes, we brought some artwork and dishware, and pots and pans that we can't use because we didn't understand about induction and copper bottom. So anyway, but we brought about 70 boxes. So, but we still had to furnish the apartment. So the expense has been really just, buying furniture for our apartment. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we're staying within our budget. Absolutely.
Amazing.
It's cheaper. It's cheaper. We're not using, we've had to go to the doctor. It is, since we're not on the carte vitale yet,
Yes.
or we don't have the mutuelle, we're having to pay for it out of pocket. Now we're keeping the receipts and we'll be able to submit it, but it's €25 to see a doctor.
Yes.
So it's affordable. The prescriptions, I'm on several prescriptions that are long term from the US, €6. So it's really, really affordable.
Exactly.
Really affordable.
Exactly. And there is also if you somehow manage to have your condition recognized as a chronic disease,
Yes.
the government will take care of all the costs related
Yes.
to it.
Okay.
So all the equipment, all the drugs, prescription
Yes.
drugs, all the doctor's visits, everything. So that's
I
really,
use a CPAP machine, and
Yeah.
so I understand that once we actually get the Carvital, that all that will be covered. Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
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 Absolutely. Did you have any unexpected expenses? Well,
Well, yes. One.
Yes.
And you know the story.
I know the story, but tell us the story.
So, and this is for all my friends out there. When we got the keys to the apartment, we got 2 keys, and one of them did not work. You get the new key. Well, eventually, we went to the owner. The owner, because you have to have, as you know, in France, you have to have a card that you take into the key place, and that says that they can make the key for you. Well, so we finally got in touch with the owner on the Thursday, and the owner was mailing the key and the card to the property manager. And so I thought, oh, great, we're going to have a second key, because Eric and I have been having to coordinate using one key. Well, and I've been paranoid about losing the keys. So she was mailing it on Thursday. And on that Sunday, I thought Eric had gone into Paris for practice. He's singing in a couple choirs. And I thought to myself, oh, it's beautiful out. You know, I'm going to go for a run in the forest.
Bad idea. Already there.
Yeah, exercise. Never will I exercise again. So I got dressed, I opened the door, and our neighbors were coming up. And I chatted with the neighbors, and as they were done, I slammed the door. And I thought, what did you just do with the key? So it's like, okay, you did not just leave the key in the lock on the other side. So of course I'm stripping down to where did I put the key? Sure enough, I left the key in the door. So I went upstairs to our neighbors. The neighbors helped us. Bottom line, Sunday afternoon, 1,500 euro. Yeah. And the insurance covered 300 of it, in which they did reimburse us. But I now have 5 keys and
There
the
you
card. And everybody, Justina, you'll be getting a key. Two people in the building have a key, and we have 2 keys. So, yeah, we now have enough keys for everybody. Everybody will be getting a key to our apartment. Yes.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
cool.
So that was really, and truthfully, I feel very fortunate that that's been the only issue we've had.
Another thing on the budget.
Yes.
What expenses are higher and which ones are lower comparing to what you expected?
I have to tell you, because cable is cheaper, the electricity is cheaper, the apartment here is cheaper than our apartment in Manhattan. I'll tell you one expense that costs us more than Manhattan, and that's to get a manicure.
Okay, and what's the difference?
7 to 10 American dollars more.
Okay.
It's interesting because a manicure in the United States is $18 here, at least in New York, and here it's 25 euro.
Okay.
But my haircut's cheaper. My haircut was $200 in the U.S. I get one here for 25, and I like it. It's great. So
it balances out the manicure.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, it balances out the manicure. But I can't think of anything that the food is cheaper.
Yes.
The quality is great.
Yes.
The vegetables are fantastic. The eggs because the eggs aren't pasteurized. I don't know what they do, but they're not kept in the refrigerator. So the eggs are fresher.
They just do nothing to the eggs.
Right.
They are just as the nature made them, and that's why you can keep them outside of the fridge.
And they're really good. I honestly cannot think of Now we haven't purchased any clothing yet. So the jeans may be more expensive. I don't know. But based on what I'm seeing walking around Paris and Saint-Germain-en-Laye, I don't see anything that's
Yeah.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's-
Restaurants are cheaper.
Yeah, and very nice,
Yes.
especially in this area. I really
Yes.
like. Yeah.
I have become a big beef bourguignon aficionado. I get it everywhere I go.
Well, you could make a list of the 10 best
Yes.
bourguignon
Oh,
I have.
I never thought about that. That's
Yeah,
a great
like a-
idea.
like a-
yeah.
list,
Yeah.
and then
For the
people will-
Facebook page.
Yeah, well, then
Yes.
let's do it.
Yes.
So we started a little bit on the lifestyle. So so far, what is the best part of your location?
Where we live here in Saint-Germain-en-Laye?
No, like in general, like what is the aspect of your relocation that you like the most, or that, in your opinion, it was really worth it because of that?
Well, I think first of all where we live.
Okay.
It's absolutely gorgeous here. It's 10 miles or 9 miles west of the Arc de Triomphe. It's a beautiful, beautiful village, Saint-Germain-en-Laye. The people have been so very welcoming. They're have our neighbors in the building, French, German, Italian. They have apéros monthly that we're invited to. It's just it's a real community. So from that standpoint, I love it. Eric and I have gotten involved. Eric sings for the Gay Men's Choir and for the Paris Choral Society. So we've gotten involved at. I'm doing some volunteer work at a couple different places. And so it for us, it felt because we were doing what we could to make sure that we matriculated, that we didn't just stay in the apartment. We got out, Googled different volunteer opportunities. And so for us, it's been really easy to integrate. And I was concerned about that, but we've actually done a pretty good job. In 5 months, we've got a nice little network of friends already, which feel very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
They've helped. We've had a couple of different things that we needed to have some help with, and they've been very gracious about, yourself included, obviously my friend in Paris, but very grateful about, or very accommodating when we've had some issues and things like that. Yeah.
Amazing. Let's look at you were originally planning to move to Paris.
Yes.
But you live in Saint-Germain-en-Laye,
Yes.
which is half an hour of
Yes.
public transportation away
Yes.
from Paris.
Yes.
Just for people who are watching us, Saint-Germain-en-Laye is
Beautiful.
yes. So tell us a little bit more, like why Saint-Germain-en-Laye,
Sure.
and yeah, why Saint-Germain-en-Laye?
The dream, of course, was to move to Paris and live the Parisian lifestyle. The beautiful apartment and the being able to go to cafes every day and just what you see, walking the Champs-Élysées and all of that. But when we came here, I think one of the concerns for us was just about being able to slowly integrate into the French culture, and we felt moving to Saint-Germain-en-Laye was a nice stepping stone, if we want to do that at some point. Coming from New York, I understand the energy of a big city. Our concern, though, again, was about what would happen if I locked myself out of the apartment, or what would happen?
Now we know.
Yeah, now we know. Now we know what to do about that. But it seemed like Saint-Germain was a nice combination of, you've got some of the amenities of Paris, you've got some of the energy of Paris, but yet you've got the energy of a small village.
Yes.
And there is a international school here, so you hear all different kinds of languages. So for somebody who doesn't speak French, it's a nice way of slowly kind of integrating into French society. As you know, because you introduced us to Saint-Germain-en-Laye, it's an absolutely gorgeous little village. Well, it's not so little. Our apartment overlooks the Place du Marché, plus the rents are cheaper. We have a 3-bedroom apartment, which would probably be double the cost of what we would pay in Paris. So yes. So for us, it felt like home. It felt like home for us.
Yes. And still a lot of things that you do every day are in Paris. Like
right, yes.
Your husband goes to the choir rehearsals. You do a lot of activities in Paris. So
we're having lunch tomorrow.
Okay, so how does it work?
It's easy. It's we walk to the RERA. We're the last stop on the RERA. It's a €2.50 ticket. It's the same cost as riding in the metro in Paris. And it takes us 30 minutes to get to the Arc de Triomphe.
Yes.
And we can be in most of our places that we need to go to within 30, 40 minutes. And we're used to that because when we lived in Manhattan, we lived in Inwood, which was the northernmost part of Manhattan. So the subway ride was 35 to 40 minutes to Times Square or to Chelsea or whatever. So we're used to it. It feels like a suburb of Paris. I know it's a suburb of Paris, but yet it kind of feels like an extension. Like an extension of Paris. It doesn't feel like we're that far away, but yet
of course
we've got all the benefits. We've got people who do speak English that can help us. Although, like I said, we try to speak the language, but we've made friends. Someday I'll tell you the story, but we've made friends with the lady at the pharmacy.
Okay. That's very important.
Very important. She knows us. The guy at the Monoprix behind the counter, we've developed a friendship with him. Mm-hmm. One of the cashiers sees us, so when we're walking along the street, she'll say hello to us. So it's a big village, but yet it's got kind of the feel of a small village, which is what I like. It's just made the transition a lot more comfortable for me.
Yes, the things that you described will not happen in Paris.
Right. Yes.
Probably not.
Yes.
It's too big of a city and too many people.
Yes.
It's very hard.
It's like being in Manhattan.
I think when you arrived to Saint-Germain-en-Laye, how was it? Like, how easy was it to make a social circle? What were the first, I would say, months of your after your arrival?
Sure, I'll tell you. So we arrived on October 13th, Saturday, October 13th. On Sunday, October 14th, we went to Balthazar, which is a restaurant overlooking the Place du Marché. And Eric and I were having brunch there. And there was a couple sitting next to us, and they have their dog, Newton. Big dog. Of course, I love dogs, so I started talking to Newton, and we started having a conversation, Marie and Pascal. And as they were leaving, they invited us. They gave us a card that has their address on it, and they invited us to get together with them. So we reached out to them, and we've been to their house for. They invited us to their house for an apéro. Then we've been out to dinner with them several times. They invited us to their house for Christmas Eve. Pascal is my age. He's about 62 and he's retired. So he reaches out to Eric. He and Eric will go for coffee at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm not out of bed by 9 o'clock in the morning. Don't ever call me before 9 o'clock.
I won't. I promise. I won't.
But so he and Eric go to. They'll have a coffee, sometimes lunch or whatever. But so we've made friends with them. The building, there are 6 apartments in the building, and the neighbors here have been absolutely fabulous. Last night we had an apéro. They organized an apéro, so we went up to their house and had. Some meats and cheeses and desserts and everything. So from that standpoint, we seem to have very quickly, based upon what some people I've talked to, we've developed a network within 3 or 4 months that most people don't within 2 years.
Yes.
and that's because we've extended ourselves.
Yes.
Like I'm doing some work with WISE, which is an organization for expats, because I was looking for a way to learn the language, and they offer some classes. You know, I do some stuff with you. Eric has joined the Gay Men's Choir, so he auditioned there, got accepted. He's made a friends. We were invited to a couple that he knows from the Gay Men's Choir invited us to their apartment on Saturday night for dinner. There was another couple there, so you know,
busy.
It is, and the network just seems to be expanding organically because we're putting ourselves out there doing different things, and that's the key.
Yeah.
You know, you've got
go out.
Yes, you have to work at integrating into the society.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
And speaking about the society,
Yes.
you are a gay couple.
Yes.
I wanted to ask.
At least I think we are.
What?
At least I think we are. Yeah, I'm pretty
And
sure.
how am I supposed to comment that? Cut. As a gay couple, do you see any difference in the way you are treated by the society? And we compare Manhattan to suburbs of Paris.
So I think there are two things. First of all, in Manhattan, I never felt, because Manhattan is, you know, a melting pot of all kinds of different nationalities, you know, all of that. So in Manhattan, I never felt out of place, or I never felt any kind of concerns. Leaving Manhattan, going to different states, especially with the political climate in the U.S. now, I don't feel so comfortable in a lot of different places. The major cities, yes, but you know, I would not necessarily be comfortable Eric and I moving to different states. What I found here in the U.S., it seems to be a topic of conversation all the time, an issue, or you know, they're trying to undo gay marriage. Now there are things like that. So there's always that underlying tone, because it's the politicians use it as a you know, like throwing red meat to their base. Here it's not an issue. You don't read about it. You don't read about transgender rights. You don't read about LGBTQ rights. Everybody's got them. It's moot. It's not an issue here. Now we haven't traveled much outside of, you know, into the countrysides, but we have made numerous friends through our Facebook pages, and we communicate with them. We've had some luncheons with different groups that we belong to, and they all live out in small villages and things like that. We have a transgender friend of ours. She's moved to a small village in the southern part of France, and no issues. The communities come around, accepted them. I don't feel uncomfortable.
Yes, I must say that is absolutely amazing about French society.
Yes.
That they just don't care.
They don't.
They don't.
They don't really care.
It's not a topic of conversation ever.
Yes.
Yeah. We're talking about your life in Saint-Germain-en-Laye and your life here. How do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Oh, that's a great question.
Or where do you see yourself?
Oh, here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there is an attraction to living in Paris. Are you talking physically or like...
Physically?
Okay,
like, are you staying in Saint-Germain-en-Laye, or maybe you...
I like the idea of staying here. Yes, I absolutely do. I absolutely do. You know, our apartment is on the 3rd floor, which means there are three levels of stairs. That's the only thing, I will tell you, that's the only thing that concerns me is the older I get about just navigating stairs. But there are people here that are older than I, and they are still, I mean, they run up the stairs. So it's not an issue now, but that's really, at this point, the only thing I think about are the stairs.
All right.
but I love, I mean, come on, our view is gorgeous. We overlook the Place du Marché. It's a beautiful apartment. We like it. It's perfect for us.
Okay. It is. I must say, it's really a beautiful apartment.
I love it. I'm very happy here.
I love it.
And I have my friends in Paris to thank for it.
Oh.
The second apartment we looked at. We looked at 2 in one day, and this was the one.
And we knew that this one was special.
Yes.
Because it had everything.
Yes.
Everything.
We're very fortunate.
Beautiful. So yes. I have some final questions.
Sure.
What are the things that you would tell someone moving to Paris not to do?
Well, I think the first thing I would probably tell them is there are 2 things. One is more just about what you bring, and the other one's a bit more emotional.
Okay.
So not to get serious here or deep,
we can.
But the first thing is we brought too much, and we didn't bring any furniture. But if you have pots and pans that have copper bottoms, don't bring them. We had 2 sets of them, but we thought we needed them, and we brought too much,
Okay.
And there were certain things, family pictures, Christmas ornaments I collected, things that were important to me. But I wouldn't bring dishware. We brought a beautiful set of china that, and crystal and things like that we'd collected because I had this vision of, anyway, I would give it serious thought, give it really serious thought, because there isn't anything you can't buy here. All right?
Yes.
You can buy it, unless it's got some personal attachment to it. Mm-hmm. I would be very, very discriminating about what you bring. That's number one. And the second thing is, and this is, I was the one that wanted to, I was the one that started this whole, Eric, let's talk about leaving New York and moving to Europe.
Yes.
For a couple of different reasons. Financial reasons. I wouldn't have to work as long. We like traveling in Europe. France is easy to get to everywhere. It's cheap. I retired. Eric quit, but I'm 62, so I'm I retired. So I guess what I would say is I was ready. I'm the one that was, in October I said to Eric, why are we staying? Why are we waiting? Let's go. Let's go now. So, but when I got here, within 3 or 4 days, it was like, uh-oh, what have I done? What have I done? I've quit my job. I've left my family. I've left friends. I left my community. I was active in the community in New York. I active in my church, I was politically active. I worked for Broadway Cares. I was active. And, we had a strong circle of friends. After over 30 years, you're going to. So when I was ready to move. I was ready to go. We were living in a temporary location. And one day I remember saying to Eric, why are we staying? There's no reason for us to wait. Let's go. So we found we called your friend in Paris, started working on the visa. We found an Airbnb. We booked the flights and we moved. And when I got here, like I said, after about 3 or 4 days, it kind of hit me like, oh, wow. I was nervous about leaving the apartment for fear of losing the key. Then we were in an Airbnb then, not speaking the language. I was, just everything hit me at once. Again, losing the network that I developed, family, friends, all of that. So I guess what I would say to people, it's taken me a while. I wanted this really badly, but and thanks to you, and you introduced me to somebody that I could talk to that helps expats or immigrants matriculate, and that's been a godsend for me, because there was an overwhelming sense of loss.
Yes.
Because again, you're leaving everything you know.
Yes.
And it takes a lot to do that and move to a new country. Now, five months later, if we'd had this conversation the first 2 weeks of moving here, it would be a whole different conversation. But I'm glad I had the support from your friend in Paris. The network that we had started to build already, so important, because we were actively, I wasn't just sitting at home. Well, there were times where I was just sitting at home, lying on the bed, crying, but we worked through it. And I guess that's what I would say to people. If you'd have said to me on October 12th, the day that we were moving over, it was a nighttime flight. If you said to me, Michael, if you'd have given me a crystal ball and said, this is what you're going to go through, I'd have told him you were nuts, because I was ready to go. I mean, I knew I had a plan. I was going to start taking lessons. I had the volunteer work. I was going to get active in my church. Eric was looking at singing, so we had a plan, and I was ready to go. And boy, did that, I didn't expect the impact it would have emotionally. So, I guess what I would say to people is be prepared. There's going to be, I again, never, and if you would have said to me, Michael, this is what you might go through, I'd have told you were nuts, because I'd never experienced that before in my life.
Yeah. And
it was a transition. We're working through it. 5 months later, I couldn't be happier. Yes.
So happy to hear
yes.
that. I'm so happy to hear that
yes.
there is a happy ending.
Yes, because we called you.
I know.
Yeah. We called you, and fortunately, you introduced us to someone that works with expats.
Yes.
I mean, his practice is helping people who are moving and matriculating. And
absolutely.
Again, I was quitting my job. I'd worked for 46 years, so, there was a lot that I didn't think. It was like, I was just going to come over and yay. I came over, and 3 days into it, it was kind of like, oh gosh, what have I done? What have I done? So,
after that happened on my end, I started thinking about it, because, it happened to me when I moved here.
Of course.
And then I witnessed when it happened to you.
Yes.
And I heard it from other people, and it happened to them as well.
Yes.
And I was like, wait a second, maybe it is more frequent than we think.
Yes.
Maybe it's more common than we think it is.
Yes.
So I started asking people about it. Like, how did it feel when they moved here? And they were like, oh my God, that was awful.
Yes.
And then I realized this is actually happening to the majority of people.
It's a lot of,
moving to Paris, especially.
Yes.
And everyone is expecting you that you will also, for them, leave your best. Like, I'm staying back home, but you to go and be happy.
Oh
in
my
Paris.
gosh, yes.
And so, when you call them, how are you doing?
Yes.
And you say like, oh, it's a little rough. And they're like, what do you mean? In Paris? Nothing can go wrong in Paris.
Oh my God. That's it. When I talk to people, it's like, Michael, you live in Paris.
Yeah, you live in Paris. Get over it.
Exactly. Oh, I wish I had it so rough. But
yeah, exactly. But breaking news, you can feel lonely in Paris.
Yes.
You can feel fish out of water.
You have to work extra hard.
Yes.
You have to work. At least I did. Now, Eric and I were just having this conversation recently, and I said to him, "Do you ever think about going back to New York?" No. I mean, he is here. He is here permanently. He loves it.
Commitment.
Could not. And I am too now. It is, for me, it is also. But a couple months ago, I was 50-50. Now I am so glad that we had the resources and the community to work through it. Because again, yourself, your friend in Paris, the people that we've met here, the volunteer work that I'm doing, it has helped tremendously. It has helped tremendously.
That's how naturally, like organically, you became the community manager for our clients.
Yes.
Because what it means is that you have someone to talk to, you have someone to vent to,
Yes.
you have someone to meet for lunch.
Yes.
And we organize events
Yes.
together
Yes.
once per month when
Yes.
newcomers can come,
Yep.
and there will be some old comers.
Old-
I don't know. But everyone gets together. We had it last Thursday.
It was great, wasn't
It
it?
was a huge success.
Yes.
Everyone came and had a great time.
And they stayed.
And they stayed, and so
Yes.
it was amazing. They came, they stayed, everyone was chatting,
Yes.
exchanging. I was so proud. People were
Yes.
exchanging phone numbers.
Well, here's
with your friend in Paris.
you guys made, or your friend in Paris made, getting. I mean, we had the apartment in 2 weeks. I mean, we
Yeah.
had no issues with the apartment. We had no issues with our dossier. We had no issues opening up the bank account. We're still working on the carte vitale, which is the way it works. So, the visas were, all of that was so easy. And that was because my state of mind, if there had been issues with that, I don't know where I would be right now. So taking that, not having that pressure was worth so much. Hair, everything, you have to be prepared for everything to be a new experience.
Yes, and I'm so happy to hear that you're
Yes.
having a good one.
We are. Thanks to you.
Oh, no, thanks to you.
Yes,
But thank you so much.
Oh,
for this
absolutely.
Conversation.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Thank
and
you.
I am sure it will help many people.
I hope so. I hope
Yes,
so.
yes.
And I'm here for you.
Yes. So call him.
Yeah, call me.
We'll follow up with the real number.
Bye.